Well, the weather's still warm and the nights are getting cooler, so if you're trying to squeeze in one last weekend away, you just might want to check out Cape Cod. But there's a waiting list to rent a little place along the beach that inspired some of the country's most famous writers and artists like Tennessee Williams, E.E. Cummings, Jack Kerouac, just to name a few. Well, our Kristen Whiting takes us now to the dunes near Provincetown, Massachusetts. This week's Great American Zip Code 02657.
The wind briskly whistles past my ear. A gull flies over the dune. The sun rises, amber, in a sky free and clear. Above the pines, a nearly full moon.
The solitude of these Cape Cod beach houses has inspired poets, writers, and artists.
No plumbing, no electricity, no running water.
Living here is isolation by choice. There are very few amenities.
What the world thinks they need, they really don't. They really don't.
They're known as the Dune Shacks. Once there were nearly 50, now only 17 remain. This neighborhood is now a National Historic District. With no deeds or records, the Shacks' history has become part of their mystique.
I think that they were purchased by local residents in the 30s or 40s and brought here as an escape. It wasn't generally built solely for art purposes. It was more a family getaway.
The first and perhaps most famous resident was playwright Eugene O'Neill. He settled into an old Coast Guard station in 1916. In the nearby fishing village of Provincetown, O'Neill helped to establish a playhouse and artist colony. In 1961, the seashore was declared a national park. And while all the land then went under federal jurisdiction, the Dune Shack owners were allowed to remain as long as they lived. One of those owners, Charlie Schmid, studied shorebirds from his shack. And when he died 20 years ago, his shack was torn down. At that time, the Park Service saw the shacks as eyesores. That demolition spawned an outcry from the citizens of Provincetown. A local trust was formed to preserve the shacks. Joyce Johnson was one of the founders, and Charlie Schmid was a good friend.
Where else? What more perfect place would you want to die? It's out here. Heaven, it's called. You're right close to it.
Joyce Johnson has been the caretaker or resident of several of these shacks for more than 30 years. She knows well the isolation here.
I heard a guy out here in the middle of the night. I was in bed here and he's saying, "Help, I'm lost." And he was probably a mile away. And I said, "Am I going to go up and help this guy?" And after a while, there was another return, you know. "I'm over here." And they got together, but he sounded very sad.
Dune Shacks, whose owners have died, are now rented either by lottery or through artist-in-residence programs. Tom Bolin manages one of those programs, a 3-week stay in a 2-story shack called Seascape.
Everyone has a certain edge of apprehension at first, but by the time I get to pick everybody up, they're very laid back and generally don't want to leave.
Photographer Kay Canavino is one of the lucky artists chosen.
It's a different place. It's very alien. The whole surroundings here are really alien.
When you live here, you pump your own water, sometimes the color of brewed tea. You use composting toilets, cook with propane, and use a propane mini refrigerator that works most of the time.
Let's see. Oh, look, there's no ice.
The shack was built in 1940, and the agreement is that they can stay for 3 weeks, but they have to let people come a couple times a week to visit.
There are summer walking tours to Seascape, highlighting a history that dates to the 1920s.
At that point, you could rent these shacks from the Coast Guard. It was $12 a month.
It's a chance to experience the dunes for just a few hours in a way that others experienced for a lifetime. In one of the few spots on the East Coast where you can watch the sun rise and set over the ocean.
A tranquil spot. Well, Tennessee Williams spent a lot of time in the dunes. It was there that he wrote The Glass Menagerie and was believed to have put the finishing touches on a streetcar named Desire while staying in one of those dune shacks. Next week, Kristen Whiting takes us to what just might be North America's coldest zip code, or postal code as they say, Canada's Grise Fjord, X0A0J0.
Would you like to see your zip code featured in the pages of National Geographic magazine? Well, log on to our website and nominate one. The address, nationalgeographic.com. Up next here, beauty is in the eye of the storm. Come along on a tornado safari when we come back.